We'll just allot some minutes for your questions. There's a microphone at the middle of the room. If you could just say your name, your organization, and to whom you are directing the question, please go to the microphone. Yeah.
Good afternoon. Do you hear me?
Yeah.
I have, in fact, two questions. First, one to Ted of Oxfam Novi. My name is Bikash. I'm the chair of Diaspora Organization PASUT, which stands for Bangladesh Support Group. At the same time, I'm the vice chairman of DFT, and we are also a member of Luxembourg-based organization on microfinance platform. My first question is to Ted, sorry. And you said that, mentioned about this production of biofuel is one of the key reasons behind the food crisis around the globe. My point is, as Oxfam Novi, we see that it's vocal, for example, in fair trade. But in this respect, we haven't seen much from Oxfam Novi. Has there been any initiative taken by Oxfam Novi in this regard? First questions. And second to Manuel Orozco, regarding remittance. I mean, we hear a lot that remittances back in home could be used as a productive way. My question is there any statistics that this amount of remittance money back in home have been used for job creation or any other thing, or any setup of industry? Thank you very much.
We could allow them to answer first, and then we entertain the next question. Ted, would you like to answer?
Go ahead, take that mic. Well, this indeed is a very recent development. Although in the past few years, various publications have already addressed this issue. Actually, last year with the AIM campaign, we made, together with the HERE campaign, which is the big environmental campaign in the Netherlands, we made this publication in the context of 7707 on the relationship between climate, environment, and development. And this was actually the main theme in this publication. It went, for instance, 300,000 people with the VPRO gids, and it was distributed in many different other ways. So in terms of informing the public in the Netherlands about it, we have done our best in an early stage, but I agree that much more needs to be done on that. In policy terms, towards the G8, you might know that the G8 gathers this year in Japan, early July, and the process actually in July itself, the papers that are agreed are already prepared earlier in the year, and there are a range of meetings with the Sherpas or the Sherpas. The Sherpas are assisting the mountaineers, the G8 leaders, to the summit, and Oxfam International has a very active interaction with the Sherpas in all the G8 countries, and also gatherings of these Sherpas. And the food crisis issue and the rising food prices have been put very high on the agenda with the Sherpas. With the result, and we don't know if that's probably they would have done that anyway, that there'll be a different or a specific paper by the G8 that will be discussed by the leaders as well in Japan on this coming food or existing food crisis already. And the other thing, there are a range of meetings. Early June, for instance, in Rome, there's a big meeting organized by the FAO with all the other stakeholders, governments, and NGOs, and Oxfam is preparing to have a big presence and have an input to that meeting as well. Beyond the humanitarian efforts and the aid, the Oxfams are doing undertaking together with the World Food Programme and other, the Red Cross, etc., in areas where there's a lack of food. But I agree, in policy terms and informing the public, much more can be done on that.
Okay, thank you, Ted. And Manuel, would you like to answer the question?
I think if you're referring to productive use of remittances as the way in which the earnings you receive from your relatives abroad are interacted with the productive base of the local economy, yes, they do have an impact in different ways, especially on job creation. Let me give you 3 examples. One is the fact that because the earnings basically allow you to increase your consumption, to improve a better health, but also better food in the community. So the households actually increase the demand for foodstuff. And most of the foodstuff is locally produced. So it increases the demand, it in turn increases the supply, and that in itself generates employment. The other issue is in terms of taxation. For example, in most developing countries, the average percent of households receiving remittances is about 20%. Yet the contribution just to the value-added tax is about 30%. So you can see the impact is not only in terms of how consumption increases demand, but also in terms of tax revenue. Then you have another issue. On real estate, for example, 10% of remittance recipients are investing during a 5-year cycle in some kind of investment, whether it is real estate or a small business. Now, it's a very small percent. You can think. The fact of the matter is that the entrepreneurial base of a society is never higher than 20%. But let's say that is 10% of those households. We're talking about, for example, a country like Ghana, where the estimated number of migrants remitting is about 1.5 million. It's 150,000 people. The average investment is about $5,000. That's over $700 million in investments. So the impact is far greater. Now, the investment in real estate, for example, building a house or repairing a house or expanding sometimes just the wall of the house, implies that you're hiring uncontracted people to do the job. And the period of time that takes to do any type of work in housing is about 6 months. And you're basically hiring a minimum of 3 workers to do that. So, on an annual basis, these 100,000 people hiring, receiving, investing in housing, hiring 3 people, that's 300,000 jobs that are kept occupied. So that's the productive impact of remittances. I'm hesitant to talk about productive use of remittances, but if we think of it in relationship to how you interact with the productive base, the money really has a significant effect on the economies. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. We can only accommodate 2 questions.